Yeah, welcome back to another Jazz Matters podcast. Today we're doing my good friend Anthony Pearson, and we'll be talking with him about what he's doing and some of what his legendary father has done, Duke Pearson. And we'll also, with Vaughn Coulter, who is with Jazz Beats, is his program. You can also hear that on iHeartRadio, and we too are gonna, yeah, we're gonna really get into Anthony's for a quick second here, and try to give you as much information about him as we can. Now, for all the people who don't know Anthony, about your musical background, how did you get started and everything?
Okay. Well, it's good you have. I appreciate you having me, Edwin, and also Vaughn. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to use your platform to introduce myself. But Anthony Duke Pearson is my legal name. Duke is on my driver's license, in case a lot of people don't know. But my daddy gave me my middle name as his nickname. Okay. But I'm born and raised in Atlanta. I'm a Grady baby. I started playing trumpet when I was about 10 years old. The little story behind my trumpet playing was my father at the time. He was in New York. He went to New York. I think I was around 5 or 6 years old. And he came back to Atlanta. You know, he would frequent Atlanta. We would frequent New York. But the quick story is that he came back to town to hear that I had joined the band. He said, what instrument are you playing? I said, well, I'm playing the baritone. He reached in the back seat of the car, pulled out a trumpet. He said, tell your band director you're a trumpet player now. And so that was kind of my introduction to the trumpet. I knew my father was a musician, but I didn't know to what magnitude that he was and how much he was well respected. Anyway, from there I went to Price High School. And from Price High School, I went to hit the road. 18 years old, I hit the road. I was playing with a lot of artists. Betty Swan, I don't know if y'all remember her, but she had a song out called Make Me Yours. And we played with just about all the major acts in Atlanta. The name of the band that I was with was called the Soulful Brass. When I started with that group, I was about 16 years old. And I think I lasted till I was about 21. But we played with just about all the major artists in Atlanta at the time, back in the late 60s and early 70s, that we played with most of these groups. From there, I think the last big act that I was with the Tams, and I played with them for about 9 years. The Tams had quite a few hits out. I went all over the United States with the Tams. I think we went to Vegas, Hawaii, New York, with some everywhere. We did a lot of big jobs with them, and they were a well-respected group. We did shows with James Brown, Dionne Warwick, and during that time, back in the, I think it was the early 80s, we were the first black band that played a black group. The Tams were at Gillies. I don't know if y'all remember Gillies from,
Wow.
but we were the first. The Tams they were the first black act to play in that place at Gillies. But I did a lot of things with the Tams. We played. I can't count how many times we played the Grand Ole Opry up in Nashville with them. But they were pretty well-to-do group. They did a whole lot of things. And by the late 80s, early 90s, I had a family, and we were doing pretty well. We were doing pretty well, from just traveling to my wife's job, her career as well. We had a son. We have a son together. His name is Anthony Duke Pearson II. But from there, from the Tams, I started what everybody said, get the real job.
Right.
So that's what I did. I got a real job, and we kind of settled in, and I started playing in churches after about 3 years of, not doing anything at all. And from there, I met quite a few people in the church. Jerry Freeman and Jason Freeman brothers. I don't know if you remember them. They're the horn players with Outkast. But from their friendship, I met them at a church, Green Pastors, Collect Gambia. I was there for about 13 years. And then from there, I went to, I'm currently at Word of Faith Family Worship Cathedral out in Austell, Georgia, with Dale Bronner, part of the Bronner brothers. And I've been there for 15 years. It's been a a beautiful thing with the trumpet. You know, my dad, I can go back to when he put it in my hands. And the age that I am now, I'm still able to make a living off of that. I'm still able to feed my family and to also nurture small children, you know, that's come around and, you know, want to learn how to play, want to know something about this trumpet. But it's been a joy, the whole journey with the trumpet in my life. As I can imagine the same thing with you, Edwin, you know, with the bass, you know.
Well, yeah, but I want to also ask, you know, when you were given the trumpet, was there any particular trumpeter's style that you listened to back then? Was it, you know, because some guys that play trumpet, they like the high note thing, and then there are some guys that are a little more mellow. Was there any particular person that you really kind of like listened to a lot for either their technique or their approach to the trumpet? Or basically, I could ask, what was your approach to the trumpet, you know, to form your sound, you know?
Yeah, my influence, when I was around 13, 14 years old, we would visit my father every summer in New York. He would take us to all the recording sessions, the musicians in the city. Donald Byrd was a trumpet player. He was a good friend of my father's. They did a lot of things together. But Donald Byrd, his soloing ability and plus his range, and also there was a couple of other trumpet players in my father's big band, Duke Pearson's big band. One name was Joe Shepley. He was a very good trumpet player, and also Burt Collins. Both of those were lead trumpet players, and their influence was something else. Get back to what you're saying, my influence. When I would go to the rehearsals with my father during the summer, they were rehearsing in the studios, you know, New York studios, CBS studios. It was just a lot of different places they would go. But one day he asked me, he said, he would point out to me what certain trumpet players did. He said, this guy, he solos. All he does is solo. He said, this other guy, he goes around the city. He reads charts all day, and he's playing. He's working all day. He said, which one you want to be? You want to be the soloist, or do you want to be the one that reads the charts and works all day? I said, the one that works all day. And so that was kind of my focus. So Joe Shepley, to be open, quite honest with you, he was the main one of the main ones I wanted to pattern my life after as far as being a trumpet player.
Yeah, and so the focus for you to do that was really your sight reading,
yes.
Making sure that, you know, you have longevity in the business, you know, because that's all it takes is session players that come in and do it and leave without having to do it twice, you know, and that's the good thing about stuff like that. And being on call for stuff like that, because you can definitely make it a career. I mean, you know, it works out really, really good for horn sections and everything. Now today, you know, we don't hear as many horn sections as we used to. So how are you getting through this today?
Well, at the church I play, we have three horns. We have a trumpet, trombone, and saxophone. Bob Lewis, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's professor of jazz improvisation.
Yeah, I know Bob.
At Emory, and also Cortland Saxon. He's kind of new cat on the scene, on the Atlanta scene. He's from Augusta, Georgia, but he has a talented mother that sings, and he comes from a musical background also. But earlier when I mentioned, you know, the Freeman brothers, they are just one of, I say, about 15 or 20 other groups that carry horns. They are horn bands, and that I managed to, you know, pick up work every now and then with them.
Right.
But that's how I'm getting through it. And also, Mr. John Peake with the African American Philharmonic Orchestra and Glee Club. I can't remember the year. I think it was the early '90s that I met him, but he passed last year. But he was a good friend of my father's, and he would always, over the last 30, 40 years, he has always kept me in the loop with his band, wherever they played the big programs. And he's done tributes in my father's name. About in 2015, my family and I, we decided we'd do a tribute to my father. And we did it, and we did it next year, but we hadn't done anything in the last year and a half. But Mr. John Peake with African American Philharmonic Orchestra was a big influence in me being able to do that. and with
Right.
a lot of horns, strings, everything. But John Peake, he's the reason. And Thomas Stewart too. I don't know if a lot of people remember Thomas Stewart. He's
Yeah.
one of the greatest trumpet players that ever came out of Atlanta. He's in Birmingham now. I think he teaches at a college. He's probably retired now.
Yeah,
But
he
Thomas
is
Stewart,
retired. Yeah,
mhm.
he is retired. As a matter of fact, the last time I talked to Tommy, it's been a couple of years ago. I think it was around 2013. No, 2015. Sorry. That was the last time I had actually talked to him, but I do know that he's still over there. Yes, and definitely retired now. But he's one of those guys, like you said, it was phenomenal, and
Yeah,
I've seen him do things, that's just phenomenal. He did work with Ray Charles for a while in the Ray Charles Orchestra for a little while. But yeah, Tommy was great. I'd love to get a hold of him, to see what he's doing these days, in his retirement, so to say. But yeah, man, if the focus for now, like what we're dealing with now in this pandemic situation for most musicians, it's a total adjustment. It's like you've turned everything kind of around. Now we got to figure out, how we can stay current, how we can be, on people's mind as far as, live entertainment goes. I know I am all looking for next year and to hope that we can get back out, really, at some point next year, maybe this time, next summer, and try to get, just try to get our footing again. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think? What are you going to plan to do next year? Are you planning to do more on you with your own thing, or what?
yes, I do. I plan on at least doing some more tributes with Jazz Matters. The first one, hopefully, we'll be able to get something going early next year. But currently, I'm still at Word of Faith Church. I'm there. We're still having service there, but it's only for recording purposes. The Bishop Marana, he has 2 different praise teams and still a full band. It's an 8-piece band. And we're there, recording every Sunday. We still having rehearsals, but we're social distancing also. So it's not like we're 10 feet apart, but that's pretty much keeping me going. And, Bob staying in my ear.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll speak to Bob about that. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. I love it, though. I love it.
But Vaughn, you want to chime in here?
Do you, Anthony, you missed the big band sound? Because I'm sitting here realizing that that's something that's kind of rare these days.
Mm-hmm. I really do. I really do. I mean, I miss it. Once you participate in that for a while, even just hearing it from a child is hearing it. That's what I hear. When I hear music, I hear horns. I don't hear, vocals. I hear horns and, pianos, drums, that's what I hear. And that's mainly what I still listen to. Jazz at Lincoln Center, Wynton Marsalis, he's done a tremendous job with what he's doing as far as keeping jazz alive, and he's bringing up the young jazz all-stars and that type of thing. But I really miss it. And like I was talking about the horn bands, a lot of them, the horn bands that I have, most of them, they have 8 horns, and sometimes they'll drop down to 5. But those type of things, they keep me going pretty much.
Right. Mm-hmm. I was going to allude to that because you're talking to an old trombone player right here. So.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Great. That's good.
It really didn't take me too far, but I know the horn very well, and I know how, the camaraderie among horn players is tremendous. And, I still appreciate a lot of the, I guess the funk bands have kept up the horns, most of all in their music. And, I always channel back to that stuff back in the 70s and in the early 80s, and just appreciate that sound and, come across cats like Jeff Bradshaw and what he's doing, and Trombone Shorty. I mean, they're keeping that sound alive, and I'm real grateful for that. And I was just thinking about when I was a kid growing up, listening to Gerald Wilson's orchestra, and some stuff that used to go on with Buddy Rich and all that that sound. You know, it's a rarity these days, and you know, just knowing that, you know, your dad participated in that type of music back in the '60s. You know, it's a part of the art form that's not there present, but it's coming back. I know it is, because you're gonna bring it back, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a part of it.
Right.
Yeah. If I think let me see. Last time we talked, Vaughn was found out about Cristo Redentor, the song, and
Yes.
and that's still, I guess that's still the one, you know, to go to, you know, for movies and so forth. And like, is there any movies that your dad's work is coming through in the near future?
Yes, called Bardot Forever. Bridget Bardot story is going to be in that. The first movie that we had a request to do for Cristo Redentor to be a part of was A Bronx Tale, and it was in that. I'm kind of jumping around, but there are countless inquiries of people, you know, wanting to use Cristo Redentor, rappers, movies, just regular, you know, regular musicians. But it's a spiritual song. I can tell you a quick story about it. My father, back in the, I guess, early '60s, he was on tour with Nancy Wilson in Brazil, and he told us the story about when they were flying into Brazil. The approach to the airport was between mountains. Right. He said he had never flown like that before. He was in his seat and he was looking around on both sides. That's all he could see was mountains. And he just started shaking. And he thought that he would, you know, the plane was about to crash. But anyway, he said once the planes cleared the mountains and he saw the statue of Christ, I think it's on Mount Carcadova, but he said once he saw that statue, the statue of Jesus with his arms outstretched, he started writing Cristo Redentor. He said by the time the plane landed, when it hit the ground, he was done writing that song. And that was truly influence from God. You know, God gave him that song, and it's still alive today. That song, I think it's 40, 50 years old by now. I think it's about 50 something years old. But he's, you know, that was his story behind him writing that one particular song.
And that's a good story to know, because, you know, a lot of people don't know the history of it, you know, the song itself, unless they were there. But for the most part, that's a real good piece to put out there about the song, because so many people use it, you know, and a lot of them don't know the origin of it, you know. And it's great that you went on and set the record straight, you know. But is there anything else you're gonna do, like in the very near future, as far as trying to get yourself back out there, you know, as a solo artist or anything like that? Because I know that a lot of trumpet players like yourself, because we've talked many times about doing tributes. I think the last time we talked, we was talking about doing a tribute band thing. And but as far as your solo career, you know, are you thinking of anything on that line?
Well, I do occasional recording. I have a Christmas CD. Right. Also, at this time, about last year, I did a recording with Michael Jackson. He's a bass player. We call him Tree, but that's his real name. And his brother's name is Eric Jackson. He was an engineer over at one of the mega churches for many, many, many years, and they have a project coming out. I don't know when it's coming out in time soon, but I'm on it with a lot of different other horn players in the lounge. So, but basically, I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of mellowed in now, bro. You know, and,
you're just mellowed now.
Yeah, and I still like the
I ain't mad at you.
like the, you know, do things. But to be honest with you, you know, the ambition thing was. I'm gonna jump back to Joe Shepley. Joe Shepley was a trumpet player. He was one that did all the sessions, and you know, he wasn't a soloist. But Joe Shepley had a home. He had a beautiful home on a hill, and on top of it, he had a swimming pool. So, and me seeing that as a child, 13, 14 years old, I said that's what I want to do, and it was like no pressure on that guy. So, you know, once you get to a certain place in life, I'm not saying those things were or like possessions that I wanted or anything, but they had a big influence on me. And all I understood when I saw those guys was that they made a living doing this, and they had families. And so it wasn't about the rock and roll, the drugs, the women, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's where, you know, my father was the same. He was the same way. It was just about making a decent living and raising your family, you know, by playing music.
Right. Yeah, Vaughn. Because Vaughn will play your stuff now that he knows you do have a project. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So we'll make sure that is in the mix. You know, because Vaughn is he does a lot of different kinds of music, and what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and see if we can get we'll go ahead and see if we can get we just got blanked. Okay.
Come on back.
Yeah, you lost me, right?
Like they say in the church, it's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. That's what they tell you in the church when you kind of get caught up there for a minute, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, Vaughn, take him on out with it now. You still there?
Well, it's all right. We're gonna get Anthony on Jazz Beats Radio. We're gonna get him to come into the studio live.
Okay.
We're gonna sit there and we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this good stuff. This stuff by his father.
Oh, okay. And
I'm talk about some of the history and just talk about jazz and its culture and its lifestyle and its history and its impact on American music on the whole. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity as we get back into being able to do live shows, basically because of the fact that the studios have been quarantined for a while. But I'm looking forward to being able to play that music from all over the world: Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, European. It's all out there, and everybody's doing some wonderful stuff. And I stay in the loop. I'm always looking online and finding out who's doing what and what kind of music they're doing. And so it's a wealth of talent. It's a wealth of musicology out there that is still being done in the name of jazz. So, the art form lives, although it's not as present and prevalent as it is in most of the genres that are being heard today. But its foundation is set in place. It has no, it doesn't worry about itself because the musicians, the young ones and the ones presently going on are keeping the music alive in its different forms. Right. So that is a good thing.
Well, we definitely will, glad to have you here, Anthony. And if you are interested in giving people information where they can find you, just go ahead and let them know where and how they can find you. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm still in the Atlanta area, and I don't have a web page, but I do have an email that anyone can email me about with questions or, anything. But my email is the letter P, the number 3, Pierce. That's P3, PEARS @yahoo.com. And if they want to contact me, questions, you can ask me anything. I'm available.
All right, Vaughn, let everybody know before we get out of here where they can get you.
Oh, yeah. JazzBeatsRadio.com. That is the webpage. You can check it under personalities, and I got a full bio right there. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you can find me at all of those social media websites. And always talking about the music and other things that interest me as well. So, and my email address is Vaughn Coulter, the entire name, .fm @gmail.com. VaughnCoulter.fm @gmail.com. And if you're looking forward to being able to touch base with me to get on Jazz Beats Radio, just hit me up on that email address, and we can talk and see what we can get done at the radio station. But I can't do anything until I get the okay. So we got some time to do it.
Oh yeah, that's great. And you can always find me at Jazz Matters website, which is yesjazzmatters.org. And from there, you can get all information on the organization, Jazz Matters. We are a 501 C3 organization, a nonprofit organization that we do take donations. But that's yesjazzmatters.org. And it was great having you here, Ant, as well. And we'll get back with the next podcast in another week or so. But for right now, we're going to sign off, and we'll hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Good seeing you, brother.
All right.